So we're now recording. And so thank you, Emily. I think Ocean's got a bit of an issue jumping on. So let's just, oh no. I don't know what to do about that. I think what she'll need to do is clear her browser. So I'll try and get hold of her when we go into the first breakout. So we're looking at coaching today, how to be a coaching leader. Now, we've got 90 minutes together. You're not going to learn to be coaches in 90 minutes. What you're going to learn to do is understand the basics of coaching so you can bring it into your practice as a leader. We are going to talk you through a model. You're going to practice using that model. But the coaching, what I would say about coaching is that we've already done the work on levels of listening. We've already said that generative listening is in the coaching space. You're holding the space for potential, for something new to be born. So the coaching mindset is always curious and questioning and reflective. And it never has any intentions to force. So as soon as you are with somebody and you think you're coaching them because you're asking questions, but what you're actually doing is trying to steer them, or you think you know the answer and you're trying to get them to the answer that you know, you are not coaching. It always sits with your intention. Is your intention to hold the space, help the person reflect, help the person join the dots, or is your intention to prove something and lead them somewhere? And then you're not coaching. And it's a difficult space to hold, and it takes practice, because what we want to do is give people answers. And we want the outcomes. We cling on to the outcomes we want, and that gets in the way of us truly being able to coach. So as we go through the session today, you're going to be coaching. Just check in with your own head chatter, where your intention is. And as soon as you go, aha, that's the answer, I'm going to ask a question to help them get there, you're in the wrong place. What you can do is feed back what they're saying to you, and then maybe they'll get to some place themselves that's right for them. So what the benefits of coaching, I've sort of half coached you and directed you with the Me Scan, but some of that is coaching. So what would you say are the main benefits to being coached rather than being told what to do?
You arrive at the outcome yourself?
Yep.
My internet connection is unstable. I've just got a warning notice up, so apologies.
Yeah, having technical today. So if that's right, Michelle, you arrive there yourself, if we look at motivating, what's the benefits of arriving there yourself?
You feel that sense of achievement. Yeah, you feel you've reached that target, that goal, without being micromanaged or sort of coerced.
Yeah. So what would the other benefits be of it as a leader coaching others?
Benefits to you or them, sorry?
To them, to you, to everyone. And that's an open question to everybody here. Michelle's contributed, but
I think for you as a leader, I think for your coach is also it's a learning travel to you for you to coach, having done some mentoring for you learn as you as a coach as well, and obviously gives you a bit of satisfaction that you've coached someone as well. So from that point of view, from a leader standpoint, I think it kind of cements you as what you've known or learned in the past in your career?
So what I'm hearing then, you're saying it benefits the person that you're coaching, and then also the person coaching, because you're both learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you learn with actions. I think we can all go in trainings and go into this, different, but usually I think most learning is done 60% or 2/3 of it is done on the job or doing things, action. So if you're going through that travel with that person, experiencing, I think it's learned both ways. It's a two-way thing.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Anybody else adding to that? Jen?
I think as well that you're sort of like growing in yourself as well, like Emma said, and then you're not directing anyone to you're allowing the other person to explore their own answer rather than giving them, because obviously with coaching, it's like you don't necessarily know where someone wants to end up and they don't know that themselves. So asking those questions sort of triggers things for them that they might not even realize. And sort of with the different kinds of listening, you just let them explore that and give them that space.
Yeah. So you open up possibilities by allowing the space and questioning to help get clarity for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of those things. So as we're working with you now as trainers, you'd say we're trainers, we take a more coaching approach to the training. So there's a little bit of me telling or Alex telling, but then what we try and do through these sessions is pull things from you. So how does that feel for you? I'm going to ask Charmaine because you haven't spoken yet, Charmaine. So.
How does it feel in terms of being coached in that context of training, being trained? It's quite explorative. It's quite helpful to not be led by kind of an agenda, but just be more open and, learn new things. Takes you to unexpected places sometimes, because we have this idea of ourselves and, sometimes it can be quite set as you kind of grow. You have this sort of perception of yourself and how you are. But I suppose coaching sort of approach to training allows you to explore a bit more unexpected parts of yourself.
Lovely. Yeah. It's a really nice insight that it's just exploring the self and all the things. And that's the lovely thing, isn't it? That you discover lots of things in yourself that are in the unconscious or not really front of mind, and this space allows you to bring that forward. And as an effective method, I think what happens is people end up not coaching because they feel they've got to cram things in and it might not be effective for your learning. But as you go through these modules online that are only 90 minutes, how much do you think you're learning with that approach?
For me, I found that the learning it continues afterwards. It's not necessarily like we're processing a lot in the session and it may not all sort of come to light in the session, but then it comes out later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just to add to that as well, Tracy, I think what you and Alex and Winston been doing in terms of, I know it's a bit of a challenging times in this lockdown, but I think the way you've been coaching it's kind of been two ways process. So it's not just you delivering, but it's interactive and asking those probing questions just to get out of you as an individual. And just come back to your original point, I think the point of coaching is also to it's not judgmental. So the person is in a safe environment, as you kept saying in the first session. But I think it's how we relate back to our work as well, which you always ask that question as well. How would you relate that back to your work? Because essentially we need to relate it back to work then for it to come to fruition.
That's lovely. You just segued us beautifully into the next piece. Right. Thank you for that. Because what I'm going to ask you to do, you've got that whole spectrum. So you've got telling, when it's command, please do this, or please do this, this needs doing, it needs doing by now, then. You've got mentoring, that is giving people options. I need you to do this task. There are several ways to do it. This A and B and C, which way would you like to do it? So that's more towards mentoring. Or this is my approach. Is that helpful if you take that approach? And then there's coaching. This task needs to be done. How are you going to come at it? What do you see your goal in this? So you've got that whole spectrum, which all things are appropriate in your work. It's never always going to be appropriate to always tell, always coach, always mentor. So what I would like you to do is we're going to split you into 2 breakout rooms. And I'd like you just to have 10 minutes discussing, just in your day-to-day roles, as Amit just said, because we've got to bring this into the real. When would coaching be the most appropriate approach for you? So just think about all the tasks you do and really hone into when coaching is going to be the most appropriate approach. So curious, open, holding space, reflective. When is that going to be the best approach for you at work? Okay? So I'm going to split you into 2 rooms, and we're going to give you 10 minutes. And I am going to put Charmin and Michelle together now because you work together. So I think this will help you. Is that okay?
For example, we've got a new project officer where we could coach in an ideal situation, but however, due to time constraints and the current environment within which we're working, it's very difficult at the moment. And Charmin's found another example of, I'll let her speak about the work experience scenario, but it's quite difficult to find scenarios where within our current working practices, coaching is, something you could do easily.
Yeah, tend to agree. We have like a work experience panel where we haven't quite fully set it up yet, but it's an opportunity for other people to come and shadow and work experience. So that could be an opportunity to coach. But what Michelle and I were talking about is that it doesn't happen by accident. You don't accidentally coach someone. Although there's loads of opportunities, it's quite a conscious thing. Like you'd have to like consciously get into coach mode. You don't just accidentally just say, I'm going to get rid of my agendas and let you come to your own conclusion. It can happen accidentally, but I would have thought it's quite a conscious thing that you'd put your coach mindset in. So yeah.
We also talked about the manager style, didn't we? And their style of management and the recipient style, how they take instructions. So somebody might prefer to work in a way that they like set instructions given to them, or they might be open to the coaching. So it all depends on your style and, yeah.
Okay. So Jen and Hamid, what came out for you?
So we discussed sort of from both our own sort of work perspectives, but for me, in my role, there's obviously a lot of technical stuff that you just need to know, but then I thought what would be most helpful for coaching for me would be sort of problem solving. So as an example, we've got a buyer that's trapped in a 1-bed, overcrowded with a housing association, and they need a fire risk form to be able to move into one of ours, into a 3-bed. And at the, like, I've sort of always sort of defaulted to asking my manager, like, oh, what can we do to help? But it's that sort of coaching to be like, right, this is the problem, how do we get around it? And just sort of posing those questions, like sort of problem solving that way.
Yeah.
Is what we talked about, but with me anyway.
Yeah, no, good one. Ahmed, for you?
Yeah, it's similar to Jem. So it's really just identifying first the skill set required for, as I was saying to Jen, in terms of development, I'm used to, but development within local authority is quite new to me. So it's knowing the legal due diligence and the financial viability, that kind of stuff. So you do the design, do the tender pack, you send out for tender return price, and that plot of land is yours. There's no issues with their constraints. So it's kind of knowing all the possible constraints, which are quite a bit of a learning curve in local authority environment. And had a few sessions with my head of service and assistant director. So is knowing when to ask, and also, yeah, to know when to ask and when not to ask at times as well, because sometimes it's good to do it if you can learn. But it has some of them are quite legally challenging.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good point. You sort of, you need to feel safe, don't you? You need to be working in a framework that you feel safe and there's scope for being open. But I'd probably challenge all of that and say there's always an opportunity to coach. So because it's a mindset thing, and Charmaine, you're right, but you have to go, how do I be curious now? Because if you're wanting to get better solutions, that's the better approach. And you move from curiosity to action. You have to move to action. But there's a bit about being curious. So, okay. So now what we're going to do is go through a model. It's the most simple coaching model. And when you get used to it, it can be very light touch. It doesn't have to be clunky, but as you practice it, it will feel clunky. And what I would do, if I were you, I would take this model and practice on your family because it's really safe, and try and do it in a way that nobody actually notices you're doing it. So, or when you're talking to your friends, you can try this approach and you can pull out any part of this model and try it on your friends and just see what happens. Because it's low risk and you'll get used to practicing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the GROW model. Alex and I are going to demonstrate each letter. And after we demonstrate each letter, we're going to do a really quick demonstration. You're going to go in your breakout rooms and you're each going to practice that section of the GROW model. And then we come back in the room. We won't discuss it. We'll show you the next bit and you'll go back in. And so that's how we go through the 4 letters. In and out, demo, in, do your practice, back out. And at the end, we'll just pull it together and leave you to digest it overnight. And so first thing tomorrow we'll do, okay, let's talk about the GROW model and what's your reflections on yesterday, rather than try and process it as we go through. Okay? So you all got questions from me. Have you all managed to download them or got them on your computer so you've got the GROW model questions? Okay, so they just clunk through them in your sessions, pick the ones that feel right. But the thing is, what you're trying to do is find your own language. You will have your own language. And even when I read those questions now, and we're going to do it, Alex and I'll use my own language. So it's a case of just seeing the framework for each question. What's the purpose of the question? Find your own language. And you will only need 3 or 4 questions in each area to facilitate a decent coaching conversation. You don't need to know loads of stuff. Okay, are we good to go? Okay, so we're going to demonstrate the G, and I'm going to just pin you, Alex, so I can see. So what's your objective or goal, Alex? What are you after today?
So I'm about to very soon move in with my cousin and move out from where I'm living. And he hasn't been working for quite some time. He's had some health issues and is looking to kind of get back into work. And my objective is, how can I support him in that process and potentially coach him?
So I want to ask you all sorts of questions now, but so Alex, if you coach him, what do you think the outcome? What do you see the outcome being?
I mean, if I coach him, hopefully he will have a job by the end of it.
Okay.
That's the ideal.
So you see him in employment?
Yeah.
And how will you feel if you achieve that?
Like a good coach.
And how will you really feel? If you can imagine, picture him going to work, how are you going to feel?
Like proud, happy, yeah.
And can it be any work, or have you're visualizing certain type, full-time, or what does it look like?
So his background is working in investment banking. I ideally don't want him to go back into that. It's why he's sick. But that's his choice. So I think I would like to coach him into exploring, like, what is he really passionate and interested in versus what's going to pay my bills.
Okay, so I'm hearing something slightly different there. So if you came to the end of this and he actually really understood what he wanted to do, what his real love was, but he wasn't working, how would that feel?
I think that's definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. So that was the demonstration. So we could have gone on there, because that goal is not so clear for Alex. You see, we've now got two visions going on. One around purpose, one around getting him to work. So if we were doing a longer demo, we'd really hone in and get that clear what the goal was. Yeah? The most important step really is that you can spend a long time just going through questions and trying to get that clear for your person, what their goal, objective, outcome, however you want to phrase it, whatever's appropriate for your work. Okay? So now you're going to split. The question I thought I'd set you actually is, how do you bring coaching into your life and to make you more effective at work, something like that. How are you going to use coaching? So set yourself a goal, because you're going to be coached now for the next 40 minutes, of how you want to use coaching. Yeah? So now what you've got to do is you're going to go in the breakout room and you're going to get that goal really clear for each other. We're going to give you 10 minutes on this, so 5 minutes each side, okay? So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, and Oshan, you're going to work with Alex, so I'll see if I can do it right this time. I'm going to switch you around. Okay, so now you're into breakout rooms, 5 minutes each side. Make sure you stick to 5 minutes, being coached and coaching on the G. Recording again, so if you don't want to talk about anything that's you're personally brought up in that, do not feel free to keep that to yourself while we're on record, and then it's confidential between you in your groups. So it wasn't hard. The GROW model, the G wasn't hard. Sticking to the task was a bit around the subject was.
Yeah.
And how about you? What were you coached on, Jen?
We managed to hone that more to the task, but it was a personal scenario, and it was about how I could help one of my friends through something, and we sort of worked out how I would do it rather than, you know, sort of what the end goal was going to be.
Right.
And then we started to break down the sort of what we want, like why we wanted to do it for them.
Okay, that's good. Good. Yeah. Hamid and Michelle, how did you get on?
Good.
We both, I used a work-based scenario. I was demolishing some garages, and it's how I went about it. And using the model you and Alex used, we looked at the time scales, and out of 10, the impact 1 to 10, and how I'd know when I'd achieved my goal.
Yeah.
So we used that similar model and just asked some questions around that.
All on the G, yeah. So that's all shaping that objective and that goal, just really shaping that. So it's really clear in your mind. Ahmed, what did you pick?
Yeah, so I had also a work-related scenario I could have picked, but just to kind of differ from Michelle, I went through my equally, they're both important, but the community one, which I think I mentioned to you all. So several months ago, I've been made a director for my community centre and mosque. So I'm also project managing a new phase we just started 3 weeks ago. So the goal is to build that centre. It's an extension 4-story high building, extension to the current building, which will accommodate over 2,000 worshippers. So that's the goal. And it's for me to finish within, we've had 4 questions we've asked ourselves, Michelle and I. So what is your goal? How will you achieve your goal? How important is it for you to achieve this goal on a scale of 1 to 10? What time scale do you want to achieve this goal in?
Okay. So in there, I might have added things like, how will you feel?
Oh, I did
Yeah.
ask that. I did.
We did.
Joy, satisfaction,
Lovely.
heart. So yeah,
Correct,
I did
yeah.
ask that.
Yeah, so it's heart stuff. What
Yeah.
impact are you going to have on your community? How's your community going to experience this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're just really dialing in that goal, really clear in your mind.
Yeah, and it's more from the heart. It's more passion. It's something you're more passionate about. It's not something you've been, it's not a job as such. It's something you've volunteered your services to do.
Yeah.
So,
So you're always, what you're trying to do is, we're going back to that vision again, aren't we, and purpose. What makes it meaningful for the person? That's what you're trying to help them establish. Why is this meaningful for you? How can you bring it to life so I can feel it, touch it, and I'm committed? So
That's a good point. Sorry, Tracy, because Michelle actually helped me because I have 2 scenarios, work-related and the community-based one. So it was equally important, but I think Michelle steered me in the right direction.
Good.
Yeah, I asked which one's more passionate. Which one are you more passionate about?
Exactly.
And this one came out the tops.
Lovely. Good stuff. There's heart stuff in it as well. So
yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to go to the R.
Wait, you forgot us.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry, because it's on the mobile. Yeah. So do you want to go next?
Let's see if you can say. There you go. You can see her.
I'm happy for you to feedback, Alex. If it's probably not going to be heard very well.
Can you guys hear her?
Yeah, we can.
They can hear you.
I can't see anything.
She can't see anything. So did you make it through? Do you want to just say, Alex, how was it for Anjan? Did you get the G?
Yeah. So for her, go for it.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay, so we were talking about both personal and sort of work goals and sort of the differences, and actually realising that they're very similar. So from a personal perspective, my main sort of coaching goal is to bring up a toddler to be a happy child and the best version of himself. And the sort of work-based example is the fact that I've just sort of gone through the process to recruit someone I'll be line managing, and bringing them into the team in this sort of isolation environment to be able to feel part of the team and grow themselves. And I'm really strongly trying to differentiate both, that it's two different things, but actually they're very similar, because it's still about that sort of emotional attachment and, you know, trying to help people become better in themselves and progress.
Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting, and it'll be interesting we go through the model now, because what's in there is your purpose and passion. So now we're doing the next phase and see how we go through the next phase. So should we move on to the R then? Yeah.
Yep.
So let's do the demo. So I'll pin you again.
Cool.
Oh, this is unpin. Video, there we go. Okay, so Alex, you said that there were two things really about getting your cousin that you're just going to go and live with, and coaching him, and helping him get back into the workplace, but maybe helping him find something that's more meaningful for him and less stressful than what he was doing before. Yeah. So how much, you know, how feasible is that to do that, given you're going to live in his house? How open is he to this process?
So I have coached him before on the scan, and it surprisingly went well. I'm just going to see if I can just turn this down a bit more.
Yeah, or mute. Yeah.
And it went well. I guess it's sort of different because I am living with him. But then again, I have coached someone that I have lived with before. So it is doable. I guess the part that I'm a little bit kind of, it's different is that he's a family member, whereas I have coached my partner, I have coached my flatmate that I live with. So I'm wondering if that's going to have any slight difference. But he's very, like, I've been doing some LinkedIn live sessions, and he's been watching them out of his own kind of interests on things that are like career development related. So I do see that there is an interest with me without me pushing. And so I guess it's more of a question of presenting it to him as an option, not as I'm coming into your house, living with you, and I'm going to coach you. That would be a little bit weird.
Yeah, that sounds so. Reality is that you've got evidence. You know he's already wanting and open to this approach. So it sounds like your objective is actually within reach and certainly achievable.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that was the R. So that was really easy because she had examples where she'd already done that coaching with people that are close. So there's a couple of areas that she's a bit more nervous around the fact that he's family, but that was a good solid. As a coach, I sort of go, okay, that sounds like really reality. There is a reality to her goal. So, you know, if you said you wanted to be the CEO of wherever, Coca-Cola, in 2 years' time, I might be checking your reality for that. So it's really about how real is this goal? What's the reality of it? And so if you need to go back to the G and hone it, so it's more a reality, then you can do that. But that is not that you are, as the coach, you do not get in the way, you do not judge, you let them come to their conclusion. All you're doing is asking the questions. You do not make the judgment. And if it's really clear in their mind and they really think, and they've got evidence and they've got time capacity, because the other thing if it was time restraint, so Ahmed's goal of building that community centre and that religious centre is, you know, your goal is due by October. What's going to get in your way? What's the
funding?
So So that's your R thing. You're really pressure testing the objective or the goal, but you're not making a judgment. You're not making them down their own goal because you don't think it's achievable. You're honing them in to check the reality of their own objective. Yeah? So back in the same rooms, and you're going to be practicing the R, and I'm going to give you slightly less for this, so we're going to have 8 minutes on this one. And you're sticking together because you're going to coach each other through those goals you had. Okay? So we're in the R. So 8 minutes, guys. Right. Are you working? I won't speak to you then. I'll bring them back in now. But it's 11 already.
I think we're back.
Oh, I came out too quick. Ah!
Did you? Did you not finish off?
No, he was in mid-flow and I came out. Let me back in. Sorry, Ahmed, I came out by accident.
I know, no worries, that's fine. To be honest, we had just 2 more to go and then we were almost there, wasn't we?
Yeah. So you was telling me about your previous experience.
Did you do the R?
Yeah, that's what was working through the R.
Excellent. Okay, so we're not going to, because we're running out of time, so I'm not going to do feedback on this one. We're going to go straight into the O when we get the others back in the room.
Okay.
But just make a note to yourself, because what I want you to do is practice this overnight on your loved ones or wherever you can, friends, and then we'll feedback.
Okay.
Brilliant. So we're not going to do a feedback on this. We're going to go straight into the next bit. So what I've just said to the others is just make notes, any notes, and then you're going to practice on anyone you can overnight, and we're going to talk about it in the morning. Okay? So we're now into the O. So the O is options. So I'm going to go back to Alex, and we're going to demonstrate the O. Okay, Alex, so you were talking about you're going to be moving in with your cousin. You want him to get back, to help him find something he loves and get back into the workplace. Mm-hmm. So, given that you said the struggles might be that you're related to him, mm-hmm. and that you're living with him, and he's given you a home, what are your options for making this work?
Well, I think giving him the option of it, like I said before, rather than kind of forcing it, trying to kind of, I guess, do it without him noticing is an option. Just like in conversation, just asking a few questions rather than like, oh, let's formally sit down and let me coach you. can feel a little bit kind of constrained or awkward or a bit more kind of businessy, or like put the pressure on a bit. Whereas if it's in a more of a conversation and a casual setting, or like a walk in the park or something, that's an option.
Okay, so I would come back and ask you a reality question there. What's the reality of you coaching him without him noticing?
That's a bit cheeky. Because I obviously need him to want to do it, right? So
it's interesting you use the word need.
Yeah.
You need. So what are your options then?
Asking him if he wants to, like being really clear of like, is this something that you want help with? Because it's more for him than it is for me.
Does that feel right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we'll stop that. Thank you. So you see there, I went through the options, but there was clearly, I could tell by the way she giggled through that stealth, coaching by stealth, she probably realised that wasn't actually really an option. It was a judgment I made, but I didn't say really, I just asked her the question. So I noticed, and I could have said, oh, I noticed you giggled at that, Alex. What was that about? And that would have been even less directing of me. Because there was something playing out, you could just see it. So this bit is your options. So different ways. Options is also who can support you, who can help you. Where have you got evidence you've done it before, and that's been successful. So it's all around just looking at what the options are for you to achieve the goal. Yeah. So it's ideas generating around your options. Okay, so you're going to go back in again. We are going to run over, guys. Has anybody got to be off at dead on time? Ahmed, you've got to be off.
Sorry, yeah, I need to go. I had to be somewhere.
Right.
Half 11. But I mean, I can do the session, and then if I can go after.
Do this one.
Yeah.
So 8 minutes, can you manage? And then we've just got the willingness is a lot, or because we've got 6 minutes till 1:30. So you can go over 2 minutes, or?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Right, okay, so you're going to go back into the same and you're going to go through the option questions. 8 minutes. We're not going to run over on this one, this 8 minutes. Back in then. So, Ahmed, you need to go? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so the last bit we're going to do, so I'll team up with you with Michelle, yeah?
Sorry, Michelle, Tracy, is it just the last one?
We're just going to do the willingness now, yeah.
That's fine. Let me just complete it, just for the for completeness. Yeah.
Well, let's just hit it then, folks. Right. So, Alex, we're back in the. I don't know why it does this. Let's pin you again. So we're back in the demo now. So the last bit, Alex, you've got options. We talked about then just actually being upfront and asking about his wanting to be coached. So if you had to score this goal for yourself from 1 to 10, what would you score it as?
An 8.5.
Okay. So your willingness and wanting to do this for your cousin is around an 8.5.
Yeah.
What would it take to move that to a 10?
If that was something he wanted to do.
Okay. So if you can establish with him early on, it's really something he wants to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm going to leave it there because that's probably, and we'll go back into the room. So the next thing around that is we now need to work on the go back to the G, because what do you think her goal is now?
Is it to find out if her cousin even wants to be coached in the first instance?
Probably the focus needs to shift around really understanding what he wants, and for her goal to understand her cousin. So I'm making a huge judgment, but just from that last bit, I just sense that we probably need to go back to the G. Did that feel right, Alex?
Yeah, I'm making it as complicated as it can be.
So yeah, so when you come to the W, it's about the willingness. That's all you're checking in with people. Because if you get to this stage and they go, it's a 3, it's likely of this happening is 3, which is not good. So you've got to either help them come back, if you're coaching them, to come back and make the goal different, so the willingness goes up, or for them to see, really dial in, they've not dialed in hearts and minds to their goal, but it is their goal. Yeah. So that's a lovely one, the Spanish, because when we're learning something new, if we want to coach at work, actually, if our willingness is 10, we will find a way. Right, so you're back in. Just should we do 6 minutes on the willingness? 3 minutes each side, okay? So it's 3 minutes each side, back in the same rooms.